Hey, it's TJ. Last week we talked about Charlie Munger's 5 rules for wealth. And today we're going to go a bit deeper into a few of them. So we'll start with the last rule, which is choose strong, simple businesses. So let's talk about why simple is important. You can think about some things like Coca-Cola or AutoZone. They're easy to understand. They're not complicated, and how they make money and why they'll be durable is pretty obvious. People drink Coke. It doesn't matter really what the economy's doing. AI hasn't changed it. Cars break. People need parts to fix them. And if you compare that to something complicated like a, pharmacological startup company, well, you need to know a lot more. You need to know about science and trials and FDA rules and all kind of things. Heraclitus is credited with saying that change is the only constant in life. And that's true. But as investors, we don't like change because what we're buying when we invest in a business is really that business's future cash flows. And so if those cash flows change, or if they're not predictable, or if they drop, that leads us to a bad return, which is why simple businesses are better. Like I said, people will always keep drinking Coke. Cars will always break. People will always need parts to fix them. And complex businesses are full of risks that those simple ones just don't have. The drug could fail. Side effects could show up. Rules and regulations could change. A bigger company could just buy out the company before, the drug becomes profitable and you get a return. We don't like surprises. We want steady, predictable cash flows, especially as dividend investors. And so this way of thinking, asking what can go wrong, is called inversion. And it was Munger's first rule that we talked about. And Jeff Bezos has a quote that really ties this together nicely. He said that he's often asked what's going to change in the next 10 years, which is an interesting question, but he never gets asked what won't change in the next 10 years. And Bezos said that this is actually the more interesting question because you can build a business on things that aren't going to change. And that's where we often find the best investments. So let's learn from them and talk about which businesses will stay the same over the next 10 or 20 years. And if you want a list, I've put together a download that you can get the links in the description. So a few things that won't change. Well, one, pretty easy, pretty obvious. People will always need water. So a company like American Waterworks provides both water to and wastewater from businesses and homes. And this won't change because these are basic needs. No matter how trends change, what happens to the economy, technology changes, whatever, people are always going to need water. On top of that, this is a regulated industry, which does limit how much they can raise their prices, but it also adds stability and predictability, and it essentially gives these companies a legal monopoly in their area. On top of that, building water and sewage systems, it's expensive. It's difficult. There's probably not a new company going to come and say, I would like to build a new water company. What's out there is out there. And the existing companies are going to expand their services into new areas as housing develops or whatever. But there's probably not going to be a competitor come along and try and take their turf. So another thing, pretty easy, pretty obvious. People are always going to produce trash. So the best example here is obviously waste management. They have the big green garbage trucks. They take away trash. They do recycling. They own the landfills. And again, the stability here is obvious. People produce waste every single day. And having that removed and disposing of it is a basic need for homes, businesses, and cities. The other thing, again, kind of like the water companies, landfills and recycling facilities, one, they're expensive to build, and two, nobody wants to permit them. Nobody wants a landfill in their backyard. So these things give waste management a pretty strong moat. On top of that, you've got long-term contracts, both with municipalities and cities, as well as businesses. Garbage is not going to stop, and waste management will always have revenue. Maybe a little less obvious is paint. People will always need paint. So you can think of a company like Sherwin-Williams. Buildings, bridges, homes, they all need paint for protection and appearance, which means paint demand is actually pretty steady. It's tied both to new construction, but also to repairs and maintenance. One thing about Sherwin-Williams, they've got a massive retail network, which makes them the go-to supplier. Paint's heavy. You don't want to transport it long distances. And if you're a painter and you have a job, if you have a Sherwin-Williams close by to the job, you can just go pick up the paint, drive to the job, and get to work. So that never-ending need to build, maintain, and improve buildings and structures keeps Sherwin-Williams pretty stable. Two more. Actually, I was in the hospital just for a routine visit, check-in with my son, and I went to the bathroom. And in the bathroom, there were two very stable, very predictable businesses. One was Kimberly-Clark. This is the company behind Kleenex tissues, Huggies diapers, Cottonelle toilet paper, and they had a paper towel dispenser in the bathroom. So these are everyday needs. Demand doesn't tend to fall much. Whether you're in recession or not, you need toilet paper, you need Kleenex, the baby needs diapers. And those are all recurring purchases. So you use them, you throw them away, and you always have to buy more. So these are part of everyday life, and they're always in demand. And Kimberly-Clark, they've got strong brands, they've got great distribution, very stable business. The second one, the soap dispenser, had an Ecolab tag on it. And this is a company that does cleaning, sanitation solutions, and water treatment. So people will always need clean water and safe environments. This goes into clean water, food safety, hygiene. They're all essential. So Ecolab can sell to hospitals, medical facilities, restaurants, businesses, because regulations force businesses to meet standards. And again, much like, waste management, there's long-term contracts with these companies and businesses. And Ecolab has global reach. So they've got a very large market. They've got long-term stable contracts, and their services protect the public health. This is always going to be needed. So these are the kind of companies you can think about when you think about those simple, stable, easy to understand businesses. The best ones to own are the ones that are least likely to change. They sell essentials that have demand regardless of what the economy does, technology shifts, or new fads. And so if you want steady dividends and predictable growth, look for companies that meet those basic needs that people and companies can't live without. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you in the next one.